Now, one thing I do want to stress is make sure you follow every step that I show you in this video, because otherwise you will get errors in your game. But I also want to add that it's not difficult, to do this. So if you have no modding experience, don't worry, I'll guide you through every step that you need to take. So the first thing that we need to do is from the Paradox launcher, you need to go to all installed mods, and obviously anything listed here will be the mods that you have installed. And then up here, you need to click mod tools. And then this is where you will name your mod. So in our case, we're just going to call it Zeisix, keep it nice and simple. And then we will click create. And then you will see our mod at the bottom here. Now we can close the launcher because we won't need it for now. Now you need to go to your documents, then Paradox Interactive, and then Victoria Free. And then in your Victoria Free file, you will have a file called mod. So click on the mod folder, and then in the mod folder, you should have your mod that you've just created. So we double click in there. Now this metadata file, you just want to leave this alone. You don't want to touch this folder. So on the left here, we have our mod. So on the right, you need to get up the games directory. If you're on Steam, it will be in Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Victoria Free, and then Game. So one thing we have to remember is that the layout of our mod has to be the same as the layout of the game. So the folder layout has to be exactly the same. So on the left here, on our mod, we will create a folder called Common. You see there's a folder here called Common in the game. Now we have a folder called Common. The next folder that we need to create is Localization. And that's the only two folders we need from here. Now the next thing you need to do is you need to find the country that your country is going to replace in the game. And if you don't know the 3-letter definition code of the country you want to replace, you can go into the game in debug mode. So click on game settings in the launcher, and then where it says open game in debug mode, just click launch. And then once you are in the game, start up a new game. And then you will see that any country that you go over with the mouse, it will give you the country ID to that country. So pick whatever country that you want to replace with your new country. And then remember the 3-letter ID code of that country. So now we want to go into the common folder of the game's base folders, and also do that of our mod. And then we are looking for a folder called country definitions. So we need to create a folder called country definitions with the underscore, no spaces. And we will also need a folder called coat of arms in this common folder. So we create that. And then we need a folder called cultures. So let's create that. And lastly, we need a folder called history. So now within your mod folder, you should have those 4 folders. And now we want to go into the country definition folder. So let's go into there on both. Now, once you've come up with your custom 3-letter country definition for your country that you're creating, you then want to go through all of these files and search for that 3-letter code, because your new code has to be unique. Like another country can't use the same code, because then you'll get lots of problems with your mod. So like you couldn't use GER, for example, or GBR. So once you've come up with those 3 letters, just say it was ABE. Just make sure you search all of these 3 files for that country. And if you come up with a country that already has that code, then you have to change it and you have to use a different 3-letter code. Now, obviously, depending on where you picked on the map to place your country, it's going to be in one of these 3 files. If it's in Africa, it's going to be in this file. If it's in the Pacific or Australia, anywhere down there, then it's going to be in this folder. Anywhere else, then it should be in here. But we are going to be replacing the country New South Wales. So we're going to be copying the Pacific and Australasia file. So then you want to open the file within your mod, not in the game folders. So open the file in your mod, then search for the country that your country is going to be replacing. So in our case, it will be NSW for North South Wales. And all we are going to do is we're going to replace the 3-letter definition code of NSW to ZEI for our country code. But obviously you will put in your country code in here, the one you're creating. We can then add the color of our country that is going to display on the map. And how you can do that is you can simply search on Google or any other search engine, RBG color picker. And that should give you this. And then you can just pick your color from here. So we're going to go for like a nice pinky purple color. And we're going to go for around here. And then once you've picked your color on the left here, then you can use the RGB code down here. So you see these 3 numbers here. We need to replace those with our new number, which will be that. And then that is your color all done. Then you need to pick the country type. You can look at other countries to see what country type they are. and you can then obviously pick one of them. You've got like decentralized, you've got unrecognized, you've got recognized, and you've got colonial. Now we are going to go for recognized, but obviously you can go for whatever you want. Then you have to decide on the tier of your country. Now you've got principality, you have a empire, you have a kingdom. But like I say, go through all the different types, and then you can pick whatever suits you. But we are going to go for a kingdom. And then the capital, you want to leave the same. You want to leave whatever capital you have in here, because that's basically telling the game that this is the capital, and it's wherever you picked on the map. Then you want to add in your cultures. So for us, we are going to create a culture called Zeisixian. Obviously, you can call your culture whatever you like, or you can pick a pre-existing culture. So you can go for like German or Australian or, French or whatever you want. But if you want to create your own, which I will show you how to do in a minute, then you need to put the name of whatever you're going to call that culture in there. You can also put more than one culture. So we can also have Australian in there. And then we could add more if we wanted. So you can have whatever cultures you want relating to your country. And then once that's all done, you simply just want to save that file. Now it's important that you don't change the name of this file, because what the game will do is it will read this file instead of that file. And then the next thing we do is we want to create that culture, a custom culture that we're using for our country. Now obviously if you've picked a culture of another country, like that's already in the game, then you don't need to create a culture. But if you want to create your own culture, this is how you do it. You need to go into the cultures folders on both, so in-game and on your mod, and then you want to copy this cultures file. Now in cultures, you can change the name of this file. That obviously doesn't relate to other files, so only this file. And then you can call this whatever you want. So I'm just going to call it Zei Cultures. And then I'm going to open up, and then what you can do here is you can pick whatever culture is like similar to how you want your culture to be, so with names and stuff. Like obviously you can create all this from scratch, but I just find it's easier just to copy another culture. So we're going to search for Australian, because I'm just going to copy the Australian culture. And then down here, and then I want to get this bracket here. So how you do this is you see it says Australian and it's got this little brace or bracket here. You just put the cursor on that, and if this, obviously this is only if you're in Notepad++, it will make the ending bracket red. So you just scroll down till you get to the red bracket here, and you want to copy that red bracket and then all the way up to the name of your culture. So you see we've got Australia all the way down to that bracket. Copy, then click off that, then edit, select all, edit, paste. And then what that's done now is it's just pasted the Australian culture in there with no other cultures. And then what we need to do is we need to rename Australian to the name of our culture. So obviously whatever your culture is called is what will come in here. And then you can decide what religion your culture is. Again, if you want other ideas of what other religions are out there, just search, in this cultures file and just search what other religions there are, and you can put whatever religion you want in there. With your traits, then again, go through the other culture files, look what traits there are. We currently have 2 traits with this culture, so you can just put whatever traits you want in here. Then you have names. Now you can add your own names in, but you will need to make sure that you create a localization file for those names. So just to give you an example, I'm going to create a name that doesn't already exist in the game, because obviously if the name is already in the game, then there's a localization file for that name already. So one name I know that's not going to be in the game is modded name, because it makes no sense, right? But I'm just going to put that as a first name just to give you an example of how you actually create the names. Your ethnicity, now that is, we are Caucasian with this culture, but if you want a different ethnicity, then obviously look through the other culture files and pick the one that relates to you. And now our culture is in the game. Okay, and now we need to build our country. We need to tell the game what our country has, like what it is. And we do that in the history folder. So if you go into the history folder of the base game and the history folder of our mod, these are the folders that we need to create within our history folder. So we need buildings, we need countries, we need pops, we need population, and most importantly, we need states. Now we will be creating a few other folders in here, but I'm going to get to them a bit later on. And the first one we're going to want to go into is, say, population. If we go into population of the base game, here you can see there's all different countries. And we're just going to copy USA and paste that into ours. And then we need to rename this file to whatever our country is called. So first you want to put the 3-letter code of your country. So in our case, it's ZEI. And then we want to put the name of our country. So you should have your 3-letter code there and then the name of your country there. And then we go into that file And as you can see here, it says population, and then it says USA here, and it says your wealth and your literacy. And this is basically the wealth of your pops and the literacy of your pops. And you can have this high or medium or low. We're just going to leave it with high, but then all you have to do, whatever file it is you copy, you just have to change this 3-letter code here. So it's no longer can be USA. This has to be your 3-letter code. So ours is obviously Zai. So we're just going to save that. And now we need to go into the states folder. So we will do that there. And then we need to copy the states folder here and paste it into our mod. Now it's important, like I say, that you don't change any names, any file names within the history folder. Now we need to go into this file and we need to search for the 3-letter code of the country that we are replacing. So in our case, it is North South Wales. So we need to search for that. And every time we see one of these, like every time we see their code, we need to replace it with our code. Then you just keep searching for these and keep replacing them. Okay, that is us done. So now we just save this file. And what that's basically done is it's given all the states, on the map to our country. If you want to be in control of other states, then you have to search, what country currently owns them, and then you have to change the 3-letter code of that. So now we go back to history, and now we need to go into POPs. And then in POPs, we need to copy the file where our country resides. So in our case, it will be Australasia. Obviously, you will copy the file, wherever your country is located. And then we will do the exact same thing again. We will look for the 3-letter code of the country we're replacing, and we will put our country code in there. Right, and that's all of those codes done. And now we can save that. Now, one other thing I will add is that if we go to one of our states here, now this state now, the state New South Wales, this is one of our states. So anyone with your free code, that is what state you own. And below that is this will be your POPs within that state. So as you see, we have 3 lots of cultures here that are going to be created. Now, what you want to do is you want to replace one of these cultures with your culture. And then you can also decide how many POPs you want, like your population of that state. So we can add like another 300,000 people here. You can put whatever cultures you want within your country. So when you actually created your country before, when you put the cultures, if you put more than one, then you might want to change a few of these cultures to those people. And then obviously put your population. Now what you have to remember is you can't just put any number, like you can't put 100 million like for the size of your population, because the state won't be able to sustain that many people. But I'm not actually going to go through and change all of these. Now, if I was actually making this mod for myself to play, then I would go through all of these and I would change them all to Zeisix and then I would decide how much population I want to have. And I would set it up, properly. But I don't want to do that right now because obviously that would take more time. But that's what you want to do. And then we will save that and then close that down. And then we go back to history, and the next file we need to copy is in buildings. So go into buildings, and same again, you need to pick where your country is situated. So we are Australasia, so we are going to copy that. And then it's the exact same thing again. You just go to the code of the country you are replacing, and you just replace their code with your code. Now let me just speak about the buildings within your states. Now obviously you can edit these to whatever you want, and you can go through the other files and you can see what type of buildings there are. But one thing you have to remember is that if you want your game to start like balanced, then you need to be careful on what buildings you add. Because if you start adding lots of buildings, your country might not be big enough to support that many buildings. You will start off your game in like mass debt or something else. Because you have to remember it's your buildings, the size of your population and all that stuff that decides on your country's finances at the start of the game. So you don't want to go crazy on buildings. You don't just want to add loads in for the sake of it. But I'll show you quickly how you can add in a building. Just go to any one of these files from the base game and just say we want to add in this building here. We just copy from this bracket here to create buildings. So we just copy that, go back to our file, go to the last bracket of any building that's there and then paste. And then that building is now within that state. And the level is basically how many you have. So like when you build in game, if you build 5 of them, then that's 5. Another thing you have to remember is if you're dealing with like coal mines or something like that, each state can have a certain amount of those buildings. So just say your state can only have like 5 coal mines. If you put 10, when the game actually loads up, it will automatically put you down to 5. But I'm not going to add loads of buildings in now, but I'm sure you can do that for your mod. We're just going to save that for the time being. Okay, now if we go back to our mod start and go back to the game folder start, so before the common folder, then we need to go into the localization folder and do the same in the base game. Whatever language you play the game in, you need to create that folder. Obviously, I play the game in English, so I'll put English. We're going to go into the English folder. So then in our mod, go into our English folder as well. So now we need to copy 3 files. We need to copy the countries, we need to copy the cultures, and we need to copy the names. And to make things easier, you want to rename these files. So you just want to put, you can put your free country code at the beginning just to rename these files. And that just makes sure that, it won't overwrite any of the names in the game. Right, so there is our 3 files. So this is the 3 files that you should have. Obviously, if you didn't create your own culture, then you won't need the culture file. So now we go into countries and we just want to copy this little bit here. So copy that, go to edit, select all, edit, paste. So that gets rid of all the other ones and we just want these. And then we need to type in our 3-lettered country code in here where it says ABS. Obviously you will put your country code in there. And then here is the name of your country. And then this will be the adjective. So what the people of your country are called. So if you're from Zeisixia, you're called Zeisixia. And then we file and save that. And that is the name of our country in the game. Now we go to cultures and we do the same thing. We just copy the first 3 and select all and then paste. We won't need this one here, the culture group. And then here you need to type the name of your culture. Now one thing I will say is that the blue writing here, you may want to check the spelling and if you have capitals. So if in game, if you put it with a capital, then you need to put a capital here. If you didn't put it with a capital, then put it without the capital here. But what's between these brackets, you can write whatever you want. And then we will save that and then we will go to names. And then same again here, copy the first 3. And then this green writing here, this is for you only. This is for your notes. The game won't read this green writing because it's after the number sign. So what you can use these for is you can put first names if you want. If you have more than one name, then you can just do surnames, So that's what you can use this green writing for. So then if you remember in our cultures, I added modded name in here. So we need to copy that and we need to paste it into here where the blue writing is. And remember what I said, you see this is a capital M, so I have to leave that capital M in there. So that's sometimes why your names won't work, because you might have a capital in here, but not a capital in here. And then within these brackets here, you can write whatever name you want really. But I would suggest keeping it the same, but obviously you can put spaces in here. So we could do it like that, for example. And then we just save that. And now that is our localization files all sorted. So now we need to go back to the history folder and we need to go into countries. And then we want to copy the file of the country that we are replacing. So in our case, it is New South Wales. So we will paste that in there. And then we need to rename this file, our 3-letter code, and then the name of our country. And then open that file. And then in here, you need to change this code here of the country you're replacing to your country code. And now you can edit this however you want. Obviously, if you want elections, you can put election date. So starting technology, you change this to a 1 if you want the highest. Then you get 2, 3. This is just what tier level of technology your country will start with. And then here is where your laws are. So, if we wanted, we can delete all of these. And then the game will just randomly assign laws for our country. But if you want to put your own laws in, then you want to search up where the laws are. So the game files, you want to go to common, and then you want to go to laws. And then here are the different types of laws. So if you want a welfare law, you can click that and it tells you the name of it here. So you see that name here. So if we want, say, poor laws, we can just copy that and then we will put everything up to law type and these 2 dots. Then you put the law name in there. So if you want to just copy and paste loads, you can just do it like this. And then what goes in after these 2 dots will be the name of the law. So if we go to health system, we say we want a charitable health system, we just copy the name of it and then we put it after that there. Sometimes it won't allow you to have a certain law based on other factors, but if that is the case, then the game simply won't load that law and it will give you the law that you can have. And then this will be the goods that are taxed at the start of your game. We can have tea if we want, or say coffee or whatever you want to put in here. But yeah, go through the other files, have a look what's in there, and then pick some stuff that is relevant to your country. But we are going to save that now. And now we will need to add the flag of our country. So you want to go into the coat of arms folder on your mod, and you want to do the same in game. And then you want to create another folder within the coat of arms folder called coat of arms again. So you'll have two folders called coat of arms. And then you go into that folder, and then you want to copy the countries file, paste that into here, and then you can rename this file. So you can put your country code there and just leave countries, and then open that file. And this is where you will find all the flags for the countries. So if we just copy, say, this one here. So again, copy from the bottom bracket, and then select all, and then paste. And then we just put our 3-letter code in here. And then this is where you can design whatever flag you want. Now I won't go too deep into flag design just yet, because I might bring a separate video on that. But this is basically where you can like edit your colors and stuff. What I would suggest, maybe looking at a flag of another country and then copying the code that they have and then doing some edits to it to make it more to what you want. But then we are going to save that, and then that will stay in there, and that will be your flag. Now go back to the common folder, and then in here there's two more optional things that you might want to add. One is a character. So we want to create a folder called characters, the same as they have in game. Go into that folder, go into our folder, and then from here copy whatever folder you want, paste that into characters, name it with your details, your code on the left, and then the name of your country there. Open this folder up, and then you have to change this 3-letter code here to your 3-letter code. And then in here is where you can add all the different characters that you want in your game. Now we are just going to add one character for the example. So we need to save the last bracket, copy this last bracket here, and then copy this all the way, say, to here. And then we don't need that in there either, like that. And then here is our character. And this is where you can edit all the stuff. So you can add traits. Now, if you want character traits, you need to go into common, character traits, and then here's all the different types of traits. So if we go into skill traits, you'll see there's one here called Forest Commander. So if we want to copy that, we just copy that name, and then we will put it in here. And then, you know, you can obviously keep adding traits in here, whatever traits you want. And here's the ideology. So again, if you go back to common folder, look in ideologies, you can see leader ideologies. So obviously pick whatever one you want. Interest groups, the same. DNA, you won't need. You need to have this ruler, yes. And here is where you can put the name of your character. Now, same again, remember with our the naming before in the localization files, whatever names you put in here, you need to add to your localization file. Modded name, for example, so we can put that in there. But obviously, if you add a new name in, you need to add it to that localization file. Then we need to save that, and that's our character added in the game. And then the very last thing that I'm going to show you is how to create starting diplomacy. We need to create a folder called diplomacy, go into that folder, and then it obviously depends on what kind of diplomatic play you want to have in your game. But just for the example, I'm going to show you the subject relationships. Copy that file, put it in there. Remember, it's the history folder, so we can't change the name of the files. So we're going to go into here. I already know that a lot of the Australian countries are puppet countries to Great Britain. So I want to change that. I search for Great Britain, which are here, and then here you can see all the puppets they have. But if you scroll down, there's Canada. If you scroll down even more, this is Australia. So this is the country that we took over here. So I'm going to take that out, delete that, because obviously that country no longer exists. But then just say I wanted to be the overlord of the Australian countries that Britain previously were. What I can do then is I can space down here and then put the bracket or brace. So what that does now is it closes off Great Britain here. So if you see, it just ends after Canada. So if you're going to do this, this is important, the bracket, because otherwise it will break the game. But how you can tell is if you click this bracket, you know, next to the code of whatever you're editing, you just look where the end bracket is. As you can see, it's down here. And then what I need to do is I need to add myself in. So here, I just put a tab, a little C, the dots, my code, and then equals. And then of course the braces, like that. I can delete that second one because I'm going to put that down here. And then there you go. Now I am the overlord of all these countries. Now obviously you can put, you know, whatever country you want. So an easier way of doing this for you, if you just wanted to put one country, for example, you could just copy like this. Then you could space down and just paste. Then you can just change the name of this to your country. And then obviously in here, the code here where it says country, this will be the code of the country that you have the diplomatic holdover. And then here will be the type. And then to get different types, again, just look at what else is in the game. And then we will save that. And that is the basics covered. Your country will now be in the game. I just want to show you how to add your mod into the game. So now you want to go to playsets, and then you want to click this little drop down here, add new playset. So this is a mod tutorial, we're going to call this, but obviously you can call it whatever you want. Click create, and then you want to add mods, and then your mod will be down here, and you want to tick that, add that to the playset, and now your mod is added to that playset. And then when you go back to home to play the game, make sure you click this drop down box and pick your playset. And there's our created character, Queen modded name, De Bourbon. It's got our culture in there, your battalions and your navy. That obviously relates to what buildings you have. And then if you scroll down, you can see that these countries are all our puppets. And there you go, that is how you create your own country in Victoria 3. Now if you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and I will continue to make them. But thanks for watching, and until next time.